Hi guys, my name is Mrs. Galicchio and I am Izzy, Cole, and Crosby's mom. But I'm also known as Dr. Long in my job. So I used to be called Dr. Long when I first started my job and have sort of stuck with that name. Used to be my last name, but now it's actually my middle name. So I'm a psychologist, and I'm the kind of doctor that I don't need to use needles or shots to make people feel better. I use my heart and my mind to help people feel better. So, in terms of how long I had to go to school, I had to go to school for 22 years to be a psychologist. That's kind of crazy, right? So, I graduated high school and I earned a diploma. And then I went to college for 4 years and I got what's called a bachelor's degree. And then I got my master's degree, which was 3 years after that. And then I got my doctorate, which was another 3 years after that. So, 22 years I was in school. And you know what? It sounds like a long time, but I think when you find what it is that you really like to do, there's nothing else that you can imagine doing. So, I love this job because I feel like I have a pretty good antenna when it comes to people. I can pick up if they're mad or if they're sad, if they're worried, and I can quickly give them the tools that they need to do sort of every day to make themselves feel better. I also love my job because I'm my own boss, so I can make my schedule whenever I want it to be. If my kids have something at school, like a music program or something like that, I can take off that day and be with them, and that's really nice. I see kids from ages 5 years old all the way to kids that are 105 years old. So people come to me for different reasons. They usually are struggling with something and they want to figure out why they keep on struggling with the same thing. So maybe there's a kid that comes to me because they have a wiggle problem and they can't sit still in their seat. Or sometimes kids have a mind that won't stop wiggling and it's hard for them to pay attention in school and on their homework. And so kids and their parents will come to me and I help them find those parts in their brain that are causing the wiggling, and we help their brains sort of calm down so that they can concentrate. Sometimes I see kids with disabilities, but we call them superpowers because they actually are superpowers. So sometimes, for example, kids might be sensitive to noise, right? So they can't do certain things that a lot of us can sort of take for granted every day. So just being in a bathroom when the toilet flushes or the air dryer comes on, or being in a team when everybody's cheering because they scored a point. That can be really, really loud for some kids. But their ears can also be their superpowers because those kids can sometimes pick up on melodies and music really quickly. They can learn the words to music really quickly. And sometimes they can actually learn really quickly through sound. Because they have such sensitivity to it. So part of my job is showing people what they think is a disability is actually a superpower. So I help families learn what each child's superpowers are, and then I give them some tools to use. And for any person to be able to use their superpowers and for them to be able to come to the surface, there's certain things that you have to do every day to help your mind sort of calm down. So our minds or our brains, whatever you want to call it, are these super powerful, kind of like engines, right? And they've got all these different controls. And when we're young, we don't really know how to control, and it can feel out of control sometimes. So what I do is I teach them different tools that they can use at home and at school that help their mind calm down so that their superpowers come up and they can be their best self. So I'm going to show you just a couple of those tools that I use. This is one here, and this is kind of cool. Kids seem to love it. And sometimes what happens is when kids come into my office, they're a little nervous and I think scared. They don't know what we're going to talk about or what we're going to do. And so sometimes it helps kids when they can play with something like this because it gets their mind off of being nervous and they can just sort of play with that. And then all of a sudden they're able to sort of calm down enough to talk to me about why we're here and what they're going to do. And I do a lot of testing for them. So I'm not as much a therapist as someone that does testing, and I help them find those parts in the brain that we've got to work on to give them their superpowers back. So here's one tool that we use. The other one that we use is this. It's called Imagine, and they're meditation cards for kids. So I don't know if you guys know what meditation is, but it's sort of a cool little thing that we do. And if we do it every day, we're able to calm down our mind, and we build muscles in our mind that help us focus and see what needs to be there and what doesn't. So in this little deck here, sometimes I'll just have the kid pull out a card, and today's card is this little girl looking up at the stars. And on the back, we'll do a breathing exercise. So I'll say, close your eyes, lie down, and imagine that you're in a magical bed, in a magical room. You are perfectly safe in this place and feel a little curious. You look up and you see that the ceiling begins to fade away, and there is a magnificent and dark sky filled with countless shining stars. You're looking at the stars as they start to move around slowly in circles. You feel like they're about to dance. So this card goes on and on and on about the stars and the magical sky and everything. And what you guys probably found is, as I was reading, maybe some of your minds were drifting off. You're like, what is she talking about? Or what am I going to eat for lunch today? And oh my gosh, I'm not even paying attention. And that's why we do meditation, right? Because the more that we do it, the easier it becomes to focus on what we need to focus on. And we have all sorts of stuff, right? All of us have our own little things, like fears of going to bed at night, fears of taking a test, fears of what our friends might think. And so meditation really helps us. That's an exercise that we can do every day to help calm our minds down. So that's one little thing. And then this is another thing that I use sometimes with kids, but sometimes with adults. It's called a meditation bowl. And you use this little tool here, and you help calm the mind down. So the idea is that you're trying to meditate, and what happens? Your thoughts start to go, right? And you can't think about anything because you're like, oh my gosh, I've been thinking about this, and now I'm not even doing this, and oh my gosh, I'm doing this wrong. And then we bring ourselves back, right? And you bring yourself back each time when you notice your mind has gone away from the present moment. You bring it in with this bowl. So kind of a cool tool. And then some other things that I use with kids. This is called the Mightier tool. And it's kind of like if you have iPads or screens at home, this works in that way. But where it's different is you use this little heart rate monitor, and we'll put it on a kid's arm. And then they're playing the game on here. And what happens is, if they get frustrated or they're really like mad because they're not winning in their game, their heart rate is going to go up, and the heart takes over the entire screen, and they have to be able to use deep breathing to be able to calm themselves down to get back into the next level. And so this is a cool tool because it helps kids learn how to slow down to be able to move forward. So I love this little tool here. And then this is just a feelings book. You guys might have seen this before, but sometimes when we're little, we just don't really know how we're feeling. We have all these big feelings and we don't really know what that is. And so today I thought, ooh, what might be a feeling that I would feel if I'm talking about my career? And there's all these kids that are watching me. And it might be that I feel embarrassed or like a little nervous because I don't know if it's going to be a good presentation, right? And so this on this side tells you all the things that you can do to deal with embarrassment, right? To make yourself feel better. So one of the things here is I can talk to a friend about it. Another one is I can laugh at myself because this is silly. I can think it's okay. It happens to everyone. There's probably a lot of mommies and daddies that are nervous when they do these presentations. Or I can distract myself. And so that's what I do as well. So this is kind of a cool book because you can pick all these different feelings, and then for each feeling that the person has, and sometimes that's a big job, is figuring out how we feel, then you have all these different tools that you can use. So these are some of the tools that I use with the kiddos that I work with and the families. And I just, I really love my job, and I wanted to relate to you guys that if you keep studying and you keep working hard, eventually you are going to be able to do the very thing that you love. So that's the key, because we work a lot, and wouldn't it be cool to never feel like you're working, but to just really love what you do? Okay, thanks.